There we go.
Hey.
All right. So I hope the classes have been going well. So you're actually teaching Zoom classes or?
No, I'm actually taking a class to get certified as a home inspector in Nevada.
Okay, okay. That's kind of different. Is that something you've been doing for a while or?
It's I just moved here, so something I kind of was looking into in Tennessee, and figured I'd have something as like a little side gig in addition to the fighting.
Gotcha, gotcha. And I guess that's a good place for a starting point here because, there was a time not too long ago where I think it felt like there was no life after the UFC, and I feel like that's changed in more recent years. And I think this fight that's coming up is probably an example of that. But do you kind of get the same feeling that with more promotions and more competition now, there are, better options for you out there?
For sure, honestly, pretty excited about everything that is to come next. This whole like I've never been one to get into the whole New Year thing with the whole New Year, new me and everything, but I don't know, it just everything kind of happened at the right time going into the new year and everything. I kind of just feel like I'm looking at everything a little bit differently and I'm ready to like go back to my roots and just have fun doing this. So I'm excited for what's coming up.
And you mentioned the move out to Vegas. How long have you been there now? And was that just to be closer to the teams out there and the facilities?
So it was a last minute thing. I was getting ready for my third UFC fight, and just felt like there was something that was missing. I needed to do, something more, train in a different way. Kind of, that there's big teams out here, and there's a lot of opportunity, and so I just kind of last minute decided to uproot and come on out here. I think I had like 4 or 5 weeks left in my camp. And I just showed up. Hey guys, I'm Shanna. It's nice to meet everyone. Let's do this. I fight in a month. So great decision. I came out here and I got stuck and I it's been a process getting moved out here, but I did not want to leave.
Well, I admire the courage to just pick up and go like that. And are you still working with Syndicate or?
I am. I'm with Syndicate John Wood.
Good stuff. And who have you been working with primarily for this fight in terms of training partners and whatnot?
So I just actually got back out here. I've only been back for about a week and a half now. Um, in fact, yeah, last Tuesday was my first day in this camp. I went home for the holidays and ran into some personal and some family things, and that kind of delayed me getting back out here. I'm meant to be back out a lot faster. I like to have usually a good 8 week camp, but things happen and hey, my last rushed camp went really well and we had great results from that. So got back out here as quick as I can, and we're back to training now. I'm just now getting my cardio back.
Well, I hope it does go well. And, I wanted to actually start off by going to your last fight, the Miranda Maverick fight. And they say you win or you learn. So I'm wondering what your takeaways were from that performance.
For sure. She kind of did exactly what I expected her to. Um, definitely. I mean, I think you learn in everything, whether you win or lose. So definitely, there was a lot of learning. I don't like to make excuses. I do struggle a lot with a really bad hip. And so I knew it was going to be a tough fight for me going into it because I knew she would want to wrestle a lot. And a lot of times the ground stuff and just stuffing takedowns and then being down on the ground is one of the hardest things on my hip. I had some tough, tough practices, tough times going into it, just the whole camp. And it was an extended camp. It was months and months and months. And I just, I struggled with that hip. This camp being off for the 2 months, getting to go back home, just take time off completely, not doing anything and letting my body really rest, I feel like has done a lot for me.
Well, that's fantastic. And, I think a lot of people might have been taken by surprise with the announcement, not just of this fight, but kind of the entire idea of the PFL bringing in a flyweight division on this Challenger Series. So I'm kind of curious how you got the news and how it was all laid out to you.
My manager brings everything to me. I'm super excited about the opportunity. I just, we were looking at a bunch of different options for me moving forward. And he mentioned this, and I was just so excited to join the PFL.
And have they said if this is just going to be the Contender Series? Are they looking to bring in the flyweight division for the regular season, sorry, or is that all still up in the air? Because we actually haven't heard.
I don't know the answer. I don't know that either.
So this is kind of the great unknown that you're going into, but does that prospect of maybe this turns into something bigger, does that kind of feel you at this point?
I like the great unknown. It's kind of mysterious. I like mysterious. Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited about all of the opportunities moving forward from here. The past couple of years and um, COVID and the UFC and everything. It's really kind of changed the fight game for me. I want to get back to my amateur days and just I love a fight. I just want to get in there and I just want to fight, and I don't want it to be so stressful, and I don't want it to be, what it's kind of turned into in the last couple of years with just all the weirdness that's going on in the world. So I'm just ready to fight, man.
So get back to normal, maybe have fun with it and less of the craziness and the business and all that, I take it.
Absolutely.
Well, that sounds good. So let's talk about this fight then. First of all, this is at flyweight. Obviously, they're introducing this flyweight division. I know you fought at 125 before, or sorry, 135 before. You've obviously fought at 125 before. Do you feel this is your optimal weight? I know in the past you did have some struggles, but do you feel this is where you're most comfortable at?
I like the 25 division. I do feel really comfortable there. I fought a lot of my early pro stuff at 135. And then once I started having the hip issues, I realized that it was a lot easier for me just to kind of stay lighter. It's easier on me, like carrying that extra weight all the time. And just the girls and if there is a lot of like grappling and groundwork, just having someone that much bigger than me and that much heavier on top of me with my hip is a lot of trouble for me sometimes. So also those girls at 135, they hit kind of hard, and I'm not really loving that so much. So yeah, I mean, I like 125. It can be kind of a tough cut for me, but it's definitely where I feel the most at.
Well, you definitely look good heading into this. When you talk about the cut, have you kind of changed your approach to cutting over the years? Is it a little more down to a science now, or?
It's hit or miss. You would think that after years and years of doing the same thing, you would really narrow it down and get it to a science. But just our bodies kind of do their own things sometimes. You can last camp, I feel like I did everything right, and it came down to the last minute, and I'm cutting my hair to make weight. So my body just kind of reacts, and of course, there's like the whole female concept of it, and all these annoying hormones and all of that stuff. But sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. I think this one's going to be a little bit better. I do plan on keeping all of my hair this time.
Well, that's good to hear that both that you're keeping your hair and that it's going to go better. But talking about the fight itself, obviously, your opponent here, talk to me about her. Sandra Lovato, she's fought on the Contender Series, didn't get to the UFC, but she does have a wealth of experience. So what is your take on her?
Okay, so I was actually supposed to get with my coach and do some film and really game plan and analyze and get ready for her today, but that got pushed back. So I really haven't done my official analysis. Sandra does have a really good record, so I think it's a really good fight. I'm excited to get in there.
And I believe you started in karate as a kid and then also went into wrestling. So do you feel that you're well-rounded enough that, regardless of what you see from her, you're confident wherever this fight goes?
I'm pretty confident anywhere I did. I started in karate. I got into wrestling. If you look at my fights, it's kind of crazy how all over the board I tend to be. I'll be like completely trying to stand up with somebody one fight, and then the next fight I'm like diving for heel hooks. So I kind of pride myself in being able to change the game and do it all.
How did you get into karate initially as a kid? Was that something like your parents put you in it, or did you have an interest and were like, hey, mom, dad, this is what I want to do?
My parents did put me in it. I actually had tried everything, all the little girl sports that you're supposed to do, the gymnastics, the cheerleading, all of that stuff. And I never wanted to stick with it. And it is kind of funny though, the karate. My grandpa actually suggested that I do karate because it would be something that was useful, and I wouldn't be just like chasing a ball or doing something silly. I'd learn how to defend myself, right? So we went to karate. I think I did class the first day, but I was such a shy little girl that I sat for probably 3 or 4 weeks and just watched my younger brother participate before I actually decided to get back in there and actually try it out myself. And then, of course, I was sold. I did karate for like 10 years growing
And
up.
here you are a pro fighter. How long did your brother stick with it out of curiosity?
Oh, maybe. I think my brother got his orange belt in karate. I think it was less than a year. And then, of course, we're like raised in the backwoods in Virginia. So he was a big hunter and fisher in school and never really got into any of the other sports.
When you went out for wrestling, what prompted you to that? Was that just an extension of the karate, or was there something else that led you down there?
It was an extension. I kind of like as a kid, 14 years old, I kind of had this whole like, oh, there's this MMA thing. That was in the back of my mind. But actually, what made me start is my mother. It was kind of weird. She was a teacher at the high school where I attended, and she had a couple of wrestlers in her class, and they would always like laugh and goof off and make fun and be like, "Ha, we could like your daughter should wrestle and all this stuff." And so she actually was the one who made me go out for the team my freshman year. Kind of weird. Most of my friends, like the girls and stuff, their parents wouldn't let them wrestle, and here my mom is like forcing me to do it, and I'm not exactly into it, but yeah, we'll try it.
So when it comes time to go, hey mom, I'm actually going to take some fights. At that point, can she even complain considering she kind of pushed you into that?
She absolutely did not complain. My first fight, actually, I was 16 years old, and this was like back in the day. There was no commission in the state of Virginia, and so I actually signed up for my first fight and started training. And I was 16 years old, and my mom had to come sign a little form to allow me to do it. So I think I fought a girl who was 23. It did not go my way. It wasn't a good fight, but it's fun, kind of cool to say I got in there at that age.
That is fantastic. Now, getting back to the PFL, getting back to the fight at hand, how familiar were you with the PFL and the format? And does that tournament format, if you do get in there, is that kind of a motivator? Because I know a lot of wrestlers, anyone with a wrestling background, is used to tournaments. They're used to that kind of tournament format in the meet. So does that maybe give you an edge even?
Oh yeah, I mean, I love the idea of being active. I've spent, many years just with injuries and pregnancy and all kinds of things, just being out for so long. Even when I was fighting, I mean, I would, 2 fights a year, 3 fights a year, I would be considered good. Like that's really being active. So here lately, I feel like I've been able to be a little more active since I've come to Vegas, and this whole tournament idea is super exciting. This idea of getting to fight so many times, just back to back to back, is going to be awesome. You just stay in camp, you stay in shape, you stay ready.
Well, I hope it works out. It would be great to see a second women's division in the PFL. And if not, there's the super fights and the one off. So there's obviously still some opportunity there for you, I imagine.
Of course, yeah.
Gonna ask you one more before I let you go. Always leave it to the end. I know you haven't scouted her, so you might not be able to give me too specific of an answer, but how do you see this fight going? Do you have a prediction for a finish or anything you've got in mind?
I just really want to get in there and leave it all in the cage. Like I said before, it's been so stressful. It's turned into so much of a job. There's just been so much weirdness going on in the world that I'm just really adopting a new mindset this year. I really just want to get in there, get back to my roots, like do it again for the reason that I started. I just want to get in there and fight and leave it all in the cage. So I think it's going to be a show.
Absolutely. Well, the Shannimal, looking forward to your return. Best of luck in the fight, and thanks again for the time today.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You do the same.